Hello, shalom, salom, and hola. Welcome to the Hot Jewish Podcast. I'm Michael, aka Hot Jewish Energy. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Hot Jewish Energy, at Hot Jewish Podcast, and at Michael T. Valdes. Our setup is very, very different today because we are here with the Kosha Dillz.
What's going on? How's it going?
Nothing much.
Welcome to the crib.
I've never been to this part of Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste, as they say.
It was interesting, but we're here on this very interesting couch, very personality couch. But
Yeah,
how have you been?
I'm great. I feel like I love how there's so much light in my apartment right now because we got the lights on. So yeah, I don't get the best light on the inside, so I'm happy. I'm happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me in your humble abode.
Yeah.
And you have Wild and Out premiering tonight.
Yeah,
Today's May
Well, then
18th.
yes.
How does that feel?
Is today May 18th? It is. It's cool. The effect of I don't know where I learned this. I must have learned it in economics. This is the law of diminishing returns. The first time you're on it, you're like, oh my God. And then once it becomes accustomed to you, you're like, what's the next thing? You record so much of the show that when it comes on, you're like, I don't even remember what episode it was or this. And as in like, you should know, like you're on TV, like what's happening. Yeah. And a big thing with me is that after I like upload a video, after I do work, I usually don't watch my stuff because for me, it's more of like the process of getting stuff out and getting it out of me into there and then other people. And I try not to really consume it as much, but it is exciting, like I get really excited to see myself on TV.
It's VH1. I mean, you're on cable. That's for me, I'm in the entertainment industry too. I'm trying to make it. I'm slowly making my way in there, and it's just, it's a big deal. And you're on a and I get what you're saying because a lot of other people who have gotten to the point where you've gotten into your career, it's just it's your job.
Yeah, it's a job. It's a job. Like I really am happy to describe it because it's a job. One, I'm very happy with my job. I really enjoy it. It's not the only thing I want to do. It's another facet to like creating my stuff. Like I made my first film and I'm shooting like redoing another scene in June, and then we're submitting to film festivals. And to me, that's like, holy shit.
Is that your first time acting?
Well, I would say, this is almost like a reality, like in particular improv comedy game show. Yeah, this is acting, directing, producing. And, I produce a lot of my own video clips. Like I'm producing and setting up shots and buying all the fashion and making things for the video and hiring and delegating tasks. Yeah, this is like my first time acting really with like my own lines and it's mad exciting. It is.
You're stepping
like
into
this.
My world now.
Yeah. Man, it's really exciting for me because I always dreamed of like film, like, and no one really knows that, but like secretly, like that's all I was always dreaming of. I was always like, I want to be in movies and film and acting and a lot of people daydream about things they want to do, and for me, I was always left with the task of you have to do it yourself. And Wild and Out is like a culmination of hard work and performing on the spot and improv and comedy. Now acting is like the same thing, but you get to try. It's like a music studio. So you're like, all right, let's shoot it again. Let's do it like this. Oh, that was perfect. And even though it's not really perfect, but we're just going to go with it because that's what we're doing. Yeah, that's the cool thing about being indie is like you could just do whatever you want. Wild and Out is exciting because it's a big production.
Yeah,
a lot of people on set.
I've seen your clips of it. Your flow is insane.
Thank you.
When when the other performers are trying to one up you and you just come in and you're just doing your thing, you're making it about you, which it should be about you because you're in that show. You are the minority.
Yeah,
in a way. In a way, you are the minority in that show because, and I'm going to get into that a little bit about you going into the hip hop and rap industry because we all know that it's primarily a POC industry and a lot of there isn't a lot of there wasn't a lot of room
You could
for,
say black. You could say it's hip hop. It's hip hop's black.
well,
It's a black art.
black, Hispanic.
But hip hop comes from black, like it's a
Yeah,
black art form, right? Hip hop comes from
yeah,
it's black art form. Comes from also it's like a lot of jazz influence, like all that
yeah.
really. Then it became Latin, with Latin
Hmm.
influences. This is just because if you really go into it, like Fat Joe, it's like when the like Latin Puerto Rican influences came into hip hop artists, Latin superstars.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, Latin music is its own thing. And now hip hop is just it's like the biggest art form in the world and biggest most widely consumed
Hmm.
piece of art that has been monopolized and profited off of in like culture, right? Because you got hip hop and Bud Light commercials, you got hip hop and everything. You got hip
Yeah,
hop and country. It's
and pop
yeah,
too.
of course, pop is complete. Like for me to be on the show, this is the last. Wild and Out is the last. It's not the last, but like as far as improv, it's the Black SNL. It's the original form. It's Kevin Hart did it, Cat Williams, Pete Davidson, Matt Rife. 85 South. It's a black television show. The audience primarily black. It's everyone anywhere in America where I go. I ask people if they know Wild and Out, and if someone is black in America, they know Wild and Out. The hundred
Yeah,
percent. If they don't know Wilding Out, that would be because Nick Cannon he did the same thing. He was similar to me. He was like the black guy in Disney. You know what I
hmm,
mean? 17. So they have kind of similar ways of like pathways of like kind of being in places that no one would think you would make it to, and
yeah.
sort of. Anyways, I love the cultural history of Wilding Out.
Now that you're doing all these really big things,
Mm-hmm.
where did it stem from? What was it? Because originally you're from New Jersey. You spent
Yes.
a lot of time in Israel as
Mm-hmm.
well. Your parents are Israeli.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like growing up for you, having that? Did that sense of living here and living in Israel give you like a dual identity of being both
Yeah, I
American and
think
Israeli?
I was never Jewish enough. I wasn't Israeli enough. I wasn't American enough. Like, I come from a really culturally diverse area in Edison, New Jersey. I mean, like, I think all the kids I rolled with, one guy was Chinese, Puerto Rican and black, white, the whole gamut, Russian, like kids of immigrants, And my other best friend who was like Persian, and he was the rapper. I wanted to fit in with like everybody. Like that was really like didn't really have a sense of belonging, and you sort of navigate the. I didn't really. Parents were Israeli. We did like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Passover, Hanukkah. I would say that hip hop sort of came into my life when I was sports. So sports was everything: soccer and wrestling. Wrestling, I got I did quite well in it. And this is like a kind of symbolism for my life. I always took second place and third place. I never took first, and sort of like always kind of taking shorts or just stopping before the finish line. And I really like find like the symbolisms in my life.
Hmm.
And as I went and got older, I realized, I was just like battling, rapping, and just always like something to prove. Really, in the later teenage years, I finally got on stage, and then I really started like, okay, this is like, I find like I'm an outsider here, but I'm accepted by the outside. I'm probably not really accepted too much. And I found that a lot in my life, just family upbringing and stuff. And just that was like my pathway into it. So really, hip hop came from me not fitting in, and I was just like a place where I could really express myself.
It's a very expressive art form. A lot of different performers, they focus on something that they really care about, a cause that they really care about, or they're talking about the current events of what's going on in the world, what's not
Right.
working. And you bring a lot of your Jewish identity into it, which is contrary from what I was reading. You kind of strayed away from it in a way.
Well, yeah, I would say my personal life just
Yeah.
really didn't, wasn't like, I remember I was like, the first girl I dated, I was like, I'm not going to date anyone who's Jewish. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But then it was like, oh, it's kind of like, then like that shit just became weird. Like,
Hmm.
dating someone's not Jewish for me. Like, I was just like, I don't know. And I was also, I got sober like when I was 22, turning 23, but I was like selling drugs, and I was like really like into street shit. And I was doing anything and I could have fit in, And hip hop was like a way for me to be like, with battle rap was like a good way of me saying like fuck you to somebody and then like beating them. And that was probably like resembling what I really wanted to do in my personal life, tell people like go fuck themselves, you know what I'm saying, like, in my real life, like outside from the
Yeah.
music shit. But the music pathway is like a way to like keep me going, so you find yourself in this identity,
Yeah.
of like an artist. And back then it wasn't like now, like Kendrick Lamar is Kendrick Lamar. Before Kendrick Lamar was Kendrick Lamar, he had rap and he was K Dot. So it was like, I'm not Rami, Even-Esh, I'm Kosha Dillz. I'm like this thing
Mm-hmm.
that's just like, this is what we're doing. And because Kosha Dillz time, and just Kosha Dillz, or at that time was KD Flow. And
Yeah.
just battling and battling and battling, and just trying to like make a new name for yourself, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
like feel you're like coming out of this like whatever experience of why I was probably getting high in the first place. And then that story kind of took over of like, all right, this is now the Kosha Dillz in recovery, and I'm going to be Kosha Dillz. I'm going to have a strong Jewish identity. You kind of get behind the strong Jewish stuff. Couldn't really like find your own shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are like, hey, why don't you rap about Israel, rap about this, rap about, like, okay, fucking rap about that. Anyone says like, we'll book you at this place if you rap about this. And I'm coming from, dude, I've never had a job except selling drugs or like delivering pizza, or
Mm-hmm.
the last job I had, I was selling door-to-door cemetery plots. Like,
Wow.
yeah, that was the last job I had. And then I got sober, and then people are like, play here, play there. I'm just like, just doing anything and just trying to like stay out of prison and jail. So I'm on all these probation. I had already did time on my earlier offenses. So this is like circa 2004, 2005. And then I met some other Jewish artists along the way. And then it became like, oh, now I'm going to start exploring the Jewish stuff.
When you served your time in prison and you came out, you've had kind of this rebirth into your Jewish identity.
Yeah.
How was there like that movie-esque moment of realization when you realized that I just need to take it back and go right back to where it all started?
What do you mean? Like Jewish side?
Yeah, your Jewish
No.
identity.
the the what's that? And if I just say it's like, oh, the Jewish shit, the Rami shit, it's just like learning about my history was sort of like, you don't really understand why you're doing it, right? It's like you really want to know about your history to kind of understand like what you come from.
Yeah.
My whole family, my grandfather's whole side of family died in the Holocaust. My mom, like my father's, his father, everyone died, and other people, they survived. Like I couldn't even communicate with my grandparents because I didn't speak the language when I was younger. Like my
Mm-hmm.
first language was Hebrew. Then I started learning English really young, and then you just forget it. And
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes intimidating because Hebrew is like a very intimidating language.
Yeah.
Like to just fall, I want to speak English. I like to speak English, but you know what I mean? You're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I don't want to like offend anyone. You're so timid. The comeback to Jewishness was that this like more observant Jewish community was so nice to me. And I had appeared with Matisyahu. And all I really wanted to do was just rap. I just couldn't, it's like a blabbermouth. I just needed to rap. Like
Yeah.
that's
You
it.
wanted to talk about how you were feeling about situations and you
Yeah. So I go out
yeah.
and perform, and you get a big cheer. That was like the new drug. It's like
Yeah.
performing, right? So when you go into that, and then you start getting immersed into all this like Jewish community stuff, this was like a new thing, and you're like, oh, I guess it's kind of cool. Like it seems pretty positive, and you're learning, and it's good. But in reality, if I think about it now, I wish I went about it like just maybe differently. I think a lot of the stuff I was just kind of like, people, I would just, anyone invited me, I'd go because I was so used to not being invited anywhere. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So like no one knew who I was. No one liked me from my previous life. No one really, just like, But now that I wasn't getting high or anything, people were just inviting me places, and I loved the camaraderie. But I was just kind of, if I think about, a lot of it, they're like, just rap about Israel. You're Israeli. And I'm, yeah, fuck everybody. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it became like combative. And I liked that because I liked rap battling. And I liked the idea that since I was Israeli, since I was like pro-Israel or whatever you want to call it.
Which is not a hot thing to be right now. Which
I'm talking about, this is like 2007, 2008,
yeah,
right? So it was not, the war we had was 2006 at that time. So it was like,
yeah,
that was like, this was a kind of a different time on college. Like,
it wasn't as intense as it is now because with
just
social
just with
media.
social media, yeah. But no, it was fucking, it was intense. And I remember they were like I got guys from like, I said I brought over Israeli artists. We did this whole thing in the Bay Area. Went to Stanford, went to San Francisco State, went to all these places, Berkeley. And I remember like my buddy that I went to yeshiva with. Like I went to yeshiva because they paid me like $1,000 to go. Like that's why I went, because I was like, oh, I'll move out of my parents' house and go to like this.
Yeshiva in Israel
No,
or
New
here?
Jersey. I went for like a month. It was so funny.
Orthodox yeshiva.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah. I went to it, and yeah, it's like where I learned how to do stuff. I mean, it was cool, and I made some really great friends there. Um, and I remember me, and my buddy Antar, who helped me book my friend. And this is why I'm telling the story. We went to these guys, like there was something on campus, and there was a fight, and then they were like fist fighting, and the story like traveled everywhere because it was like in the newspaper, it was in like the Israeli national news or something. Fight breaks out at rap show, and it was the first time I experienced like the context of like people changing your words and stuff like that, and also like experience, like that wasn't what happened, but it's how it was reported.
yeah.
And that same guy who got into the fight, Antar, like when I booked my first US tour on MySpace, like it was,
Oh my gosh.
and yeah, it was amazing. And like, but that's what I really wanted to do, was just like go and play for people and just be myself and play for everyone. I don't, not just Jewish people or just black people or just white trash people in the Midwest and underground hip hop, weird, backpack hip hop dudes. And I sort of like, my dream was like, can I bring all those cool worlds together? And that would be my world, you know what I mean? But it proves to be really difficult to bring people together who don't want anything to do with each other. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone just like in their groove. And so it sort of split my identity from like Rami into Kosha Dillz and Kosha Dillz into Rami. And I think it totally hindered myself. A lot
That's
of
tough.
growth. Yeah, if I think back at it, I was like, dude, I was taught wrong. And I dealt with what the information with what I had, or those things I did to sort of like survive through those years.
Are you still having trouble kind of bringing those two together, or are you really like keeping it separate now?
Yeah, I think, and just to break it down into context, when you take a name named Kosha Dillz, and then you have your other name as Rami, Matan, Even-Esh, that one sounds serious, one sounds like la la la, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And Kosha Dillz, the brand in general as itself, has, if you mention it in a Jewish circle, people will know it. You
Yeah.
mention it in hip hop, people are gonna know it. But with the tools you have today, as Rami, I could blow up in 6 months. It's like, you know what I'm saying? If you do everything right, or you want to say, I want to elevate me.
You don't have to keep those things separate anymore.
You don't, but I'm
Not as
saying
much.
I could, and like the Kosha Dillz thing is like always going to do what it's going to do.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes like you give yourself like a fresh start, that's something I'm really interested in. So like in my acting and things like that, I'm just like, I'm just gonna be Rami. I don't need to I'll just promote it on my channel and stuff. But ideally, the reason I wanted to get into it is just because in 2008 or 2010 or 15, if you try to do that, like, because the social media wasn't as advanced as it is now, you could start something new next month and like make these things as me speaking about my personal journey versus the Kosha Dill stuff that's like Israel and Jewish and Passover raps and Hanukkah songs and Israel this and Hebrew that, and that could is always going to be what's going to be. And then Rami could just be about like the real shit that I was feeling was like when I was navigating all this stuff and telling people to go fuck themselves and rap battles, it was really like speaking from my own like trauma and like things of growing up. And I think, and this is why I really like families that like have strong Jewish identity. It's like built into them, so they don't have to kind of work, like they always had that. Me, I had to like I had it, right? And I
Mhm.
was like, I'm the Israeli guy. And then there's like the Jewishness, like this New York Jew or New Jersey Jew. And then you have your creative side. And it's
Mhm.
like a totally separate wing, you know what I mean, that you're doing. I was almost like jealous of these kids going to these Jewish, they can't, like I never understood any of it. Like the first time I met a rabbi, I was in jail. You know, I mean, I met other rabbis, but that was the first time I was really like, I remember speaking to somebody, you know, so like, hey, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. And I only saw that got rabbi out of spite. Everyone else was seeing a pastor and a priest and shit like that.
So you wanted to feel included.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was out of my mind. Yeah, like a late. I feel like I'm a late bloomer and shit, dude. So, but now it's cool because I'm really enjoying a lot of the Jewish stuff I'm doing.
Since you're in an industry that's predominantly black and you're a minority within the industry as being Jewish, do you ever feel anxious? Do you ever feel isolated sometimes? Did you feel that in the past? Do you feel it now?
Mm, I think if you look at the past years, so like in 2000, I would say I was really out making music as Kosha Dillz 2008. Although I had done stuff before then,
Mm-hmm.
like in years and battles and stuff. But like the last public battle I went into, besides Wild and Out, was like 2011. It was like an Eminem rap battle in Red Bull. It was 2010. And I remember it was the first time I was in Billboard because it was a surprise Eminem show and he was coming out with his album Recovery and shit. 2008 was like backpack rap. It was like a different era of like underground rap and Talib Kweli, Mos Def, and pretty, you know, very pro Palestine, anti-Israel, anti-Israel shit was existing. You know, 2015, I was in Warp Tour, so it was pretty white stuff. So there's more Jewish kids there, and any of the black kids that were there were like punk rock. You know what I'm saying? And that was like
They have a lot of hip hop artists on Warped Tour.
they would have like four acts, like Machine Gun Kelly, Matan, G-Eazy,
Mm-hmm.
Hoodie Allen. You know, pretty friendly. But I was like, the guy Kevin is also Jewish that ran. I got him to Israel, and
Mm-hmm.
he, you know, he was like, "This is punk rock. You're a Jewish rap." You know what I mean? Like, no one's doing what you're doing, and that was like why it is kind of a punk rock thing. No one's like the Jewish rapper,
Yeah.
you know, that's trying to make Jewish shit cool and making it funny and making it
Mm-hmm.
quirky. And then as time went on, I blended into the pop world with rap, like alternative hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
So not really. This is sort of like now coming back to New York is more street shit, more really my essence of what I started with when I was in Jersey. Because I lived in LA 9 years. So when you're in LA, everything's like blurred together. It's it's
Yeah.
like it's like hip hop and pop. This is like an era. So
Mix.
it it's not primarily black. If I would say it would, but like Wild and Out. Now that I was back on this and New York in general and
Mm-hmm.
New York street performing and just your everyday, it's New York, so it's a melting pot of cultures. You have Spanish, Black, Asian, everything. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Palestinian, Yemenite. That would I would say here the any anti-Semitism I've ever faced is definitely more so from Jewish people being afraid to embrace someone because it's too Jewish.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, no, that's very common. It's someone that's
Yeah.
it's basically a Nazi concept, sadly, dual loyalty. So it's saying
Uh,
I don't want to be in this industry because I have imposter syndrome. So if I'm too Jewish, then I'll feel like that's Jewish cherry picking of other supporting other Jewish people,
mm-hmm.
right? If that's what you're doing, then you're not going to be accepted and you're going to be casted away from your position. But you know, even though I am Jewish,
Mm-hmm.
and then other people are like, well, if it's a black person accepting a Jewish person and they co-sign me, then it's solid, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a Jewish person would look at me a while and out and then say, but he's anti-Semitic. Or like you know what I'm saying? So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's what Jewish people kind of deal with, at least navigating in the industry. So it's like you could be really proud to be a Jew, something bad happens, you're like, yeah, but then you get successful and break into pop culture and you're like, buh.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
The double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword, you know, because your core base
Mm-hmm.
is your core base. But are they really your core base if they don't want to see you win? They only want to see you win on their own terms because it's their own insecurities of their own shit that they're placing onto you.
Yeah.
I just saw somebody the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this dude, right? And I seen him, and and dude, he used to reach out to me all the time and be so cool,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then he started working with other people that are, definitely like, they definitely don't like Israel. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine, whatever. It's cool. It's like it's a business. You don't. We're not working with people based on their political views, or you know what I'm saying. You just know them, and you're like, okay, this is what I do,
Yeah.
and then they become cold to you, and you're like, what could you do? Because that's their own journey. So that's the way I put it. But the only way I saw that is that I've seen people that have known me for 10 years, and then throughout their own journey they change because they're having their own personal experiences. Maybe they had a death in the family, maybe they had something else. The cool thing for me is that I understand life as being a kid to Israeli immigrants. I understand what it's like to not be Israeli enough. I understand what it's like to be not Jewish enough. I understand the concept of too Jewish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being too openly proud of your Jewishness, right? I understand the concept of not being Orthodox enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wear a yarmulke. I just got this Jewish star the other day. Like I'll take it off.
Cool.
This is crazy. It's from the Middle Ages. I'm gonna show this shit. I got this as a gift, and I misplaced Magen David, and I don't really care. I'll just wear nothing and just have Hebrew lettering. I just like identifying as a Jew because my name's Rami, and Rami is also a Palestinian name, Arabic name, and I
Mm-hmm.
like to be. I don't everyone confused. I like people to know that I'm Jewish anywhere I go, especially in like places where there's like high amounts of like anti-Semitism.
I was gonna say New York it's a hotbed now.
New York's not. New York's fine. I'm talking like Amsterdam, like Paris, like France, like neighborhoods. Just like yeah.
It's been bad here though. More recently, it's been bad.
Mm, I'd like to disagree on respectfully. I
Mm-hmm.
know that there are isolated incidents that but because I understand media, like and
Yeah.
seeing how it gets bad on an everyday basis around here,
It's not.
it's not. But I'd be lying if I say I didn't see something that said Israel's in a part of right at the corner, and I took the signs off myself. I took some shit
Good for
off.
you.
Yeah, I was not my fucking neighborhood. I'll fucking and I'm like crazy because I live next door to Israel. You see shit and you're just like, this is. I could say, oh my god, it's getting bad, or this is one person that went and did it. You know what I'm saying? Or two or three people that did it.
Mm-hmm.
But are they like Then you see on Jews of New York. Shout out to Yoav, like on the Jews of New York Instagram. In Bay
Mm-hmm.
Ridge, a lot of Palestinian people, and there's big rallies, and then they're like from the
Mm-hmm.
river to the sea. That's in Bay Ridge, but it's like, do you go there? And it just depends how crazy you feel. Do you go there and say, hey, that's should we work peace out? But then we have our Israeli parade, and then
Yeah.
we do March on Fifth Ave. Everyone kind of has
Have you
their own.
marched?
Yeah, I go to the parade every year. I love the parade, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I'm more about building personal relationships. I have a lot of Palestinian friends, and for me, that's like the most important. It's like, okay, if I'm willing to ever like disagree in anything, I always for myself because I find myself like a child of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm well traveled. I've been to 50 states. I've been to 12, 13 countries. I want to be able to discuss Israel anywhere I go.
Yeah.
Five people angry at me, and I'm just like you know, not phased by it. That's
Mm-hmm.
like my goal. So, but I'm always trying to make friends too, or at least
It's good that
peaceful acquaintances.
you keep your circle very diverse because I know there are a lot of Jewish people who don't like keeping their circle diverse. They like keeping it with the people that they only agree with or people that are very similar to them. And I love that you're able to, even if someone doesn't necessarily agree with you on some things, you're able to still foster that friendship, which is really good.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't agree with everyone.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
it's a
impossible.
problem. It's a problem now. A lot.
Yeah. Yesterday, I saw this
Yeah.
street performer guy. He's an older guy,
Hmm.
Kosha Dillz, and I'm on like my Rami quest. So I'm like, oh, my name's Rami, by the way. He's like, oh, okay, but he knows me as Kosha because he has a jazz band,
Hmm.
and it's a German dude. He's like, man, I saw this documentary on German TV. I'm imitating a German accent, but I'm allowed to. Okay, so you know, because it's funny. He's like, yeah, I watched this documentary on the founding of the state of Israel, the creation. He said the creation. I said, oh, you meant the reestablishment? Right off the dick. I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, oh, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. If that existed before where you're from,
Yeah.
I just find it so interesting that because you should, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know about Palestine and Israel because my mother was born in 48 of February, and a
Oh
big discussion
wow.
was, is it Israel? What is your birth certificate? Is a Hebrew on it? And my mom asked all her friends, and then all their birth certificates are in Hebrew. You know what I mean? Because this is like a thing that we redo history, and they're like, well, it was Palestine before, So I technically am a British Palestinian from a, you know what I'm saying? And so you could say that just for sake of clout in the world of, oh well, I could say this because I'm from here, or I'm from, my friends like, I'm 7 generations of Jerusalem. You know what I mean? You have all these things to overqualify you in the conversation of of this topic. And the cool thing for me is because people know me from my music, from my hustle, from my hard work and ethics of dedication to my craft, that I'm able to have these conversations with other people. You're not going to make friends with a German jazz musician who doesn't like Israel,
No.
and understand like the ins and outs of, like, I didn't ask him about his parents because his parent, at his age, his parents are like around the Nazi party. Well, what do they do? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an honor. That's the coolest thing about being the Kosha Dillz name, is that I'm able to really, which I think is more important than me being me anyway. Like, I think
Being able to build bridges
build bridges and just have
yeah.
conversations, and on the train. And it was funny. I know there's a lot of like names in the Jewish activism space that will know more than me about historical facts, or how many times did we offer land to Palestinians, and how many times, or who was the leader at the time of what organization. The fact is that dude does not give a fuck about any of that shit. He just saw a documentary, and he doesn't like that people are suffering, because that's what that movie invoked out of him. It just pulled it out of him. He just felt so bad, right? And I'm like, I wanted to be like, well, do you ever watch Holocaust films? The guy is an amazing musician. And the conversation left pleasant. I said, you could ask me anything you ever want about Israel, because every fucking day I go somewhere and people go, oh, you're Kosha Dillz? What do you think about?
It's that concept of that people think I mean, you're at a point in your career, in your life, where if someone asks you, you're going to be unapologetically you and talk about what you believe in. But for other people, it's like a sense of people feeling attacked in a way that every single time, like online, any Jewish influencer who posts something about anti-Semitism or about a Jewish holiday, they get bombarded with all these questions about Palestine. And it's like, now everybody thinks they have a right to ask Jews about this whenever. Like people don't realize that there's not a right, that there is a right time to have these conversations. But because I know for a lot of people, for me, it's tough because anytime I get asked about those questions when it's unwarranted, I get really defensive because it's tough.
The thing, at least for me, is that what I'm respected in a world of pop art, right? So it's like, I'm on a television show. I'm a Billboard charting artist. I have these fucking toured all around the world. I know a lot about something that has nothing to do with geopolitics, right? People will perceive me to be different. What's really difficult for kids now is that, I mean, on Instagram, you could become popular through, the problem with talking about, the IP conflict is that you get a lot of support, right, from people that are like driving these likes and this online stuff, and it makes your thing climb extremely quick, right? And then you get those endorphins, that dopamine shot, and what drives it also is the negativity. So you got all this negative stuff, and then you're like, oh my god, it's chaotic. It's like this high, and then people are defensive, and they say, hey, come to my defense, and it's kind of like a revolving circle. But what I challenge, as anyone listening to this podcast, is like, look at your circle of friends, right? like who disagrees with you, who doesn't. Like I have people that in my working circles I know that don't work with me just because I'm Israeli. Like I know that for a fact, and we're still like have some sort of relationship, but I know there's a certain wall block on it.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's like my circle, you got to keep it diverse, and it's like outside of the online world. I remember just people being like at shows that I'm at, and like yelling shit like from the stage, like coming getting booed, like so. A real life experience is going to be better for you than really the online stuff, and it's really difficult to navigate the online stuff. But honestly, the best way to navigate the online stuff is it's not. I mean, why do you have to post about it? And then sometimes for me, that's why I like any stuff that I post about Israel and Jewishness, or like the other day I did a show in New Jersey, and the DJ Habibi, he's Palestinian, and he was just a DJ on the show, and I was just a rapper on the show. There was another rapper on the show that's Jewish. Put in a freestyle, something listening. I'm Israeli, and my buddy's here is Palestinian, and I was like, he's like, oh shit. He goes, how did you know? And I was like, he had a big Palestine flag on his shirt, and the first thing I thought was like, oh man, we're gonna have like one of those fucking long conversations tonight. And his friend is in on it, and because sometimes the reality is it's like a blessing. It's like you get. There's so many people that there's so many of these fact pages, right? Fact pages and this and this and that. I like all those people. I'm just like, what's your friends like? What's your friend group like? You know what I'm saying? And there's something to challenge it. It's like I love, for me, because I kind of thrive off this is going back, circling to my beginning of growing up as childhood, not really I probably should have had the conflict within my own family, and like, and that's why battle rap was like such a great avenue for me. But I like anything that's like I like this. I like disagreeing. It's good for me because it's healthy. Disagreement is healthy on some level. You know what I mean? And then being like I had a call today, and a guy was like freaking out on me, like, and I told you, and I was like, I appreciate you, like, you know what I mean? And like working through it, like life is about problems and working through it. Ultimately, you know what I mean? It's not about likes and comments. It's not, you know, and so it's like really hard to navigate in the new world because you find your little tribe, right? And you stick to your tribe, and that's cool. I essentially want more than just that. You know what I mean? I wanna, because I'm also I've built up to myself to a place where I do have the ability to bridge the gap. So it's like I've been sort of, I don't know.
You bridge the gap in many ways. Like there are not a ton of Jewish rappers, but there are. That select group of them that you're a part of. That you're setting an example for younger people. That especially since everything that you've been through in your own personal life, that you can come out the other end.
Yeah,
you can be successful in your personal life and your work life, which is a very tough thing for a lot of people in the industry. I want to finish off with this last question because I think it could be useful for people who are watching or listening now.
I hope I didn't go off on a tangent.
No, you didn't.
God.
Absolutely.
I hope I didn't go off on a tangent. Holy shit.
My last question for you is, what advice would you give to young people, kids who want to be in the industry that you're in the hip hop, rap, music industry? And what advice would you give to kids who are afraid to express themselves, whether it's through Judaism or through their Zionism?
First off, if you're trying to get into the music industry, I want to wish you good luck because it's super difficult. But if you're dope and you can make songs, make lots of songs. Ultimately, every day I wake up, and most people do, they listen to music. And there are maybe about 80,000 songs, I think, uploaded a day to Spotify.
Oh, wow.
If you want to be a manager, creative director, do your own thing, create your own little brand, and it's free. You could do it on Instagram, Pinterest. You could sell clothes. You could do lead, and it's all, the music industry is everything now. It's fashion. It's obviously music. It's video. So see what you're best at and try a bunch of different things, and don't be afraid to mess up and start over. Like I'm going to start some new stuff now, and I'm like, over 17 18 years doing it, you know what I mean? And I'm starting new stuff all the time, and a lot of it fails. Most of it does. I get 200 views, 100 views, 2,000 views, and then one of the things eventually gets a lot, and and that's sort of the joy of it. But if you like making stuff and just getting it out of you and putting art out, then that's really the most important part for music industry. For creative stuff, um, think of great ways to express your Jewishness, which could be Zionism, Jewishness, I mean, identity, culture, food, music, writing, poetry. I think I used to hate on poetry a lot, and I started just making fun poetry recently. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. Arts and crafts. I'm being dead serious. You know what I mean? Like little cool things. I mean, one of my favorite person that expressed this dude was WOZ_art. I don't know his name, but I order his shit online. His Jewish shit. I love it. And like he just does like his aesthetic and art stuff is just amazing to the T. Like really some of the best stuff that I've ever, and I've seen a lot of shit. Like like I'm saying, I've seen so much stuff. Wear your Jewish identity proudly, you know? Like I just got this thing. It's not diamonds, but it's something. It's like an old relic. And I'm like, oh, this is really, I just love wearing stuff on my sleeve so I could talk about it, because inherently like, I might seem extroverted, so I'm out, but I'm like shy and very, so a lot of stuff I'm loud is because of my personality. It's very like, I don't have the ability to be like, wear just white t-shirt, black pants, and then just go. For me, I need style. Like it's because I speak through some of the things that I don't have the ability to speak like that. That's why I get on stage. So you guys have to find out that world in the Jewish space. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I think that is a great place to leave it at. And I hope that inspires you for whoever's watching or listening.
Inspiration.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm here. We're in my apartment.
Yeah, that's this episode of the Hot Jewish Podcast with Kosha Dillz. Where can they find you?
Everything is Kosha Dillz online, KOSHADILLZ. KoshaDillzWorld.com. My website's not the best, but I do update it. I have a Patreon. I have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Everything is KOSHADILLZ. Hopefully it comes across the screen. And yeah.
Any exciting things coming up?
Yeah, well, my film, Not Everything Has to Be So Serious. It's a dark comedy.
Okay.
And it's a short film. I'm really excited. It's I'm running a lot, raising money for Blue Card. Shout out to them. Doing some stuff with an organization called Value Culture out in the Bay Area. You have a big tour
coming up.
Yeah, I have have summer tour dates, playing a bunch of festivals, Sababa Fest. I'm playing Mercury Lounge, New York City, June 28th. I don't know when this is coming out, but it's
I'm gonna be in Israel. I saw 28th. I was like, oh, I'm leaving 2 days before. But
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna be in Israel as well. Yeah, I love it. And then
you're gonna be in Israel?
I'm gonna be in Israel at some point. I think I'm gonna go with my folks. I'm really excited to go with my folks.
Have you performed in Israel?
Yeah, I played in Israel. Tivan is where I really hope to play this summer. And yeah, they have a new venue in town. That's where my family's from. And yeah, I'm going to New Zealand, which is really cool. I have doing a little festival in New Zealand. I'm doing I'm hoping I got a couple big things happening. So Bands in Town is a great place to find my music tour dates, where I upload all the tour dates, and then just if you want to see me in a city. And my new venture is comedy. I'm doing a lot of side quests with comedy, Wild and Out. So it's going to be on every Thursday. Wild and Out's every Thursday on VH1. VH1. I think it goes to Paramount Plus, and there's a bunch of other sites. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here. See Rami this summer. Kosha Dillz on tour on your TV. And that has been this episode. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You can find me at Hot Jewish Energy, at Hot Jewish Podcast, and Michael T. Valdes with an S at the end.
Hot Jewish Energy.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Have a great day, night, wherever you are, and we'll catch you later.
Later.
Bye.